What's up, everybody, man? Back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla -1 news roundup. In this video, we will be continuing our chronological journey through the development, release, and then development again of Godzilla -1 and its subsequent sequel, or whatever the next Toho Godzilla movie that they're going to be doing with director Takashi Yamazaki is. In this video, we will be talking about why director Takashi Yamazaki is returning by covering events that happened in February of 2024. Starting out, Toho and Caseplay collaborated to create this line of Godzilla, mostly phone accessories, but really just technology accessories. I really like the watch straps, and in particular, I like that Godzilla phone case where it's like him roaring through the footprint impression. I think that one's pretty sick. These dropped in February of 2024. This, I just think, is fantastic. It was an MAW Animark Godzilla Acrylic Series display. So first of all, it goes alongside the Godzilla displays that were already released, but this is from the movie. It's like a little film reel, and you can swap out which parts of the film you want to go in the reel. They have all these different little screenshots that you can put in there to create your own little film reel celebrating Godzilla -1. I think that is super fun. I really love this. I just think it's such a fun idea. It's a cool display, and I also like that on the back they've got the Godzilla 70 logo and then a list of all the Godzilla movies that have released. That is just so cool. Tony Stella's very iconic Godzilla -1 poster was made available from Mondo, meaning it must have got picked up and officially licensed. If I'm not mistaken, this was originally made as a fan poster, and it actually has been around for quite some time. As you can see, that's actually Godzilla from Godzilla the Ride, and I do believe this was made around the time of the very first teaser for -1, which just goes to show how long it's been around before it got picked up. Speaking of some official Godzilla -1 art, these are just awesome. These were on sale from Toho at the Godzilla store. This first art piece is Godzilla roaring over the devastated streets of Tokyo, looking very 1954, and this was done by Yuji Kaida. I love the old Nichigeki theater there. That is just awesome. And if you want to see what the Nichigeki theater looks like in real life today, right now, go check out the first episode of Godzilla Ground Zero, a series that I've started in which I traveled to Tokyo to show what the Godzilla filming locations look like in real life over 70 years later. I had a lot of fun with that one, so go show that video some love. Alongside that, Shinji Nishikawa released his Godzilla illustrated poster. This is, of course, Godzilla -1, and I love the way the tail is sweeping through the rubble there, creating the -1. This was actually released, I believe, on Godzilla Day in Japan. I remember Nishikawa wore that during Godzilla Festival. I was able to meet up with Shinji Nishikawa, and he was wearing a shirt with this art on it, and I do believe he told me it was on sale around that time. So I just thought that was so cool, and I wanted to show it off. Next up, these things are just wonderful. They are, oh my god, they're amazing. I've seen them in person at Anime Matsuri, and they're incredible. They were rather pricey, so I wasn't able to get one, but oh my lord, Bandai released a Godzilla monochromatic Legacy Hoodie series, and they are wonderful. You've got a Godzilla 1954 and a Godzilla -1 coming in both black and white variations. It's so good. They look fantastic. The art is incredible. They've got such a beautiful aesthetic, and on the front they've got the Godzilla 70 logo. They're just wonderful. They look amazing. Flats released another version of their Godzilla cardboard assembly kit. This is basically a 3D puzzle, and this is a silver version. It's 164 pieces. The X Plus Godzilla -1 13-inch Atomic Blue Rick version and the Defo reel were spotted at, I believe this is probably like a WonderCon or something like that, a Wonderfest. Some convention in Japan was showcasing these things, which is relevant because the Godzilla -1 Defo reel was revealed around this time. Here are the official images of it. The Rick version did feature LED lights and as well as a train that goes in Godzilla's mouth, and it did run you $81. They also released the Godzilla -1 official X Plus version. This is a sharp-bodied Godzilla with violent spines ejected for a scarier visual, so his spines are raised like when he charges his atomic breath, and this bad boy does run you $213, so quite expensive. Also around this time, Godzilla Ginza version was added to Godzilla Battle Line. This is a stationary figure. He doesn't move around, he stands in place, and he charges the atomic breath to create enormous nuclear blasts against his opponents on the other end of the battlefield. He's actually a really fun battle piece to use. I really like the gimmick of this guy. He's so different different from many of the others. It offers a very different type of competitive gameplay, and I really like the way it changes up the whole dynamic of what's going on. It's pretty cool. I don't use him often though. Costs you 7 battle points and he can't walk around and he doesn't defend himself very well. Not one of the ones I use the most. The Godzilla X Nijigen no Mori theme park exhibition was announced from February 1st to June 30th. This was a Godzilla museum taking you through the history of the King of the Monsters. Toho first teased at Sapporo Snowfest that Godzilla would be making an appearance before the giant Godzilla head was revealed, reminiscent of the Godzilla invasion truck. This is just amazing, just wonderful artwork here. I can't believe that they were able to create this. It looks incredible. And to go along with it, they were selling Godzilla Encounters snow merch, and you can see here they've put together a promo featuring tons of times Godzilla was in snow or ice, and it's just a lot of fun. Pretty cool. Ironically, they don't have Snow Godzilla on here anywhere. There was merch for sale and a slide for children under 9 to be able to go on featuring Godzilla. In the United States, the last chance to see Godzilla -1 US banner was released, announcing only 1 week of -1 was left in theaters, and 1 week later, Toho said goodbye to Godzilla -1 in theaters for its initial run on February 1st. Godzilla -1 and Godzilla Color did leave theaters on February 1st, which is really incredible considering they were only supposed to be in theaters for 7 days at the start of December. It's really incredible how long Godzilla -1 was able to hold out in the US just due to the massive amount of support the movie received. That massive amount of support is the reason Takashi Yamazaki will be returning. Not only was Godzilla -1 a big box office success for Toho and a huge international success, but it was really well received critically, and that is incredibly important. While Shin Godzilla might have been the bigger hit in Japan, that's clearly not all that goes into greenlighting a sequel. Shin Godzilla was a huge hit in Japan, but Godzilla -1 was a huge hit globally. And with that, Toho released the We Made History little Godzilla box office / Academy Awards / critical reception support teaser. Following this, Takashi Yamazaki revealed that the budget for Godzilla -1 was somewhere between $10 to $15 million according to Vulture. An LA screening of Godzilla -1 was held with director Matt Shakman moderating a Q&A with director Takashi Yamazaki. Matt Shakman did direct the first 2 episodes of Monarch Legacy of Monsters as well as produced the entire first season. A follow-up screening was held with the visual effects team at WME. Yamazaki then released the things from a JHLA screening. Yamazaki then attended a Collider-hosted FYC screening of Godzilla -1. This picture actually comes to us from my friend Chris Jahangir over at Toho Kingdom. Lots of these did feature Q&As, either with Yamazaki or with the entire VFX crew. Godzilla -1 then won Best Picture, Actor, and Supporting Actress at the Blue Ribbon Awards ceremony in Japan. Following this, -1 won Best International Film at the Lumiere Awards, featuring director Takashi Yamazaki, who was there to accept the award. During this, Yamazaki revealed he was so honored that -1 was picked because awards like this are usually reserved for more artistic films, more art house films. He said that he felt very welcomed by his fellow nerds and geeks for embracing this movie. He then gave a special thank you to Godzilla 2014 director and fellow friend of Yamazaki, Gareth Edwards, for supporting him ever since he was one of the first Americans to be able to watch the film long ago. He says that he thought Gareth Edwards was overhyping the movie because he says Americans tend to overblow their praise of movies very often, and so he didn't know if that was actually legit praise or if it was just an American being overly excited. He says it was nice that it turns out that a lot of people internationally loved the film, and it was then that Yamazaki started to realize that not everyone was pandering to him. Some people just genuinely like the movie. In fact, a lot of people do. Personally, I think Yamazaki saying things like this is incredibly endearing, and I agree. I was also surprised Godzilla -1 won as many awards as it did, because it's a genre film featuring a monster that people don't take very seriously. And people don't even take big monsters seriously in general anyways, so it was a pretty big deal. I've seen a lot of really disgusting and disappointing discourse surrounding Yamazaki's take on art house cinema and how his goal is to make a movie that people enjoy, not high art for people to dissect. And I don't think that's to say his films are devoid of substance. I absolutely don't think they are. I think that's just him saying he prefers to make movies that people like rather than people absorb as art. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think the people who do think that there's something wrong with that spend way too much time online. I don't really want to get into the drama of that, but I just wanted to comment on the discourse that I've seen happening right now with a current interview where Yamazaki said that his goal is not to make art house pictures, it's to make movies that people like. And I don't know why a filmmaker wanting to make movies that people enjoy would ever be something considered controversial, but it's incredibly disappointing to see the backlash that have shown up from it. And with that, let's move on. Yamazaki was able to reunite with his friend Gareth Edwards at the Lumiere Awards. Here's a picture of the two of them together. He then attended the US Asian Entertainment Game Changer Awards and met my man Steven Yeun, one of my favorite actors, years, Toho then released a Godzilla -1 Academy Awards banner, celebrating the fact that we should tune into the Academy Awards to find out if Godzilla would win Best VFX. Yamazaki and the Shirogami team, the VFX team responsible for -1, then attended the Oscars luncheon. It was here where Yamazaki met director Steven Spielberg, his biggest inspiration and the guy who got him into movie making. Yamazaki responded to this saying he's met God, and then asks, "But what should I do now?" implying that he's peaked and he's not sure where to go from here. This was a career highlight and there's nothing left. He says he cried when he found out Steven Spielberg watched Godzilla -1 3 different times, praising the characters and the film. Yamazaki, as a result, gifted him his Ichiban show Godzilla figure. Toho celebrated Steven Spielberg's praise by sharing a photo of him with Godzilla. Yamazaki then met Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas, the people responsible for Oppenheimer. Nolan apparently praised Godzilla -1 as well. Here's a little photo of the Godzilla -1 VFX crew at the Oscars luncheon. I love that they're carrying their little Godzilla figures, and they just look so wholesome. Speaking of those guys, Toho released some spotlights on them so we could get to know them better. Starting with Tatsumi Nojima, he is the effects artist and compositor for -1. Born in 1998, the year of America's iconic Godzilla, and was inspired by films like Back to the Future and Pirates of the Caribbean to get into filmmaking. He was responsible for the ocean sequences in -1 and created a very large-scale water simulation for those sequences. It was in fact his love for water simulations that inspired Yamazaki to add more ocean sequences to the final movie. Next up we have Masaki Takahashi. He is the 3D CG director for -1. He's been a passionate filmmaker ever since childhood. He's worked as director, CG director, and CG artist throughout his career in films, video games, promotional videos, and commercials, and has worked with Takashi Yamazaki ever since 2000. Next up is Kyoko Shibuya. She's the visual effects director. She's worked on Always, Sunset on 3rd Street 64, and The Eternal Zero, both films from director Takashi Yamazaki, as well as many other major VFX award-winning films in Japan. She also worked on Godzilla the Ride, Giant Monsters Ultimate Battle, which was also directed by Takashi Yamazaki, and which won Best Short Film in the VFX category, I believe in the year 2019 when it was released. She is the 5th woman to ever be nominated for an Academy Awards in Best Visual Effects, and is the first woman of color. Takashi Yamazaki then received a spotlight of his own as the visual effects supervisor, director, and writer for Godzilla -1. He is considered one of Japan's leading film directors at the moment, with his most famous series being Always, which used VFX to transform Tokyo into the late 1950s, and which won 12 awards, including Best Picture and Director at the Japanese Academy Film Prize, which I believe is the equivalent of the Japanese Academy Awards. Yamazaki is the first director nominated for the Academy Awards for VFX ever since Stanley Kubrick back in 1969 for 2001: A Space Odyssey. Finally, to end it off, here's a photo of all of the Oscars nominees, and I love if you zoom into the bottom left there, you can see Takashi Yamazaki holding his little Godzilla glowing blue, giving it nice contrast to draw your eye in, meaning Godzilla gets to be featured in this Oscars nomination photo as well, which I find very wholesome and very fun. And that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.